Hello everyone and welcome back. I'm the Rambling Director and today we are talking about Friendship is Magic, Episode 9, Bridle Gossip. This is one of my favorites. I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoy this one. It was one of the first ones where I was like, yeah, you know what, I kind of saw the message coming and yet it was so cleverly put in and the reveal of it is so nicely handled that I always thought that, man, this is the sort of quality kids entertainment that young children should be getting rather than just having a message like this shoved down your throat. Again, the comedy is probably what keeps this from becoming that sort of morality tale that is just very simple and straightforward. So the comedy in this largely comes from the fact that the girls have an allergic reaction to a plant, but we'll get to that in a second. The plot of the episode is that there is a mayor who keeps coming into town, and all of the main six, minus Twilight, are terrified of her. And the reasons why are pretty funny. Though this person never does anything wrong, she is just different. And because she's different, it scares them. She's actually a zebra rather than a pony, and because they've never seen a zebra, they find her to be very strange. For instance, Rarity passes out at finding out that her stripes, which she thinks are garish, are actually a part of her coat and not a fashion choice. Applebloom, Applejack's sister, who we haven't gotten to see a whole lot from yet, but she becomes a big character as we go forward. She has the sort of notion of it's wrong to treat people like this, so I'm going to go out and make friends with Sakura, this zebra, and I'm gonna prove to him that there's actually nothing to be afraid of. She's just a normal pony like all of us. They all think that Sakura kidnapped Applebloom because Applebloom wanders off with her. But the reason that this even is able to happen is because they're all so distracted being equine racist. Now, there's actually a bit of interesting history behind the character of Sakura. So, Sakura was originally intended to be a Cajun character rather than African. However, when the voice actress was trying out, I saw her at a convention once, and she actually said when she was trying out for the role, they kind of were like, the Cajun thing's not really working. Can you do an African accent? And when she did it, they actually really liked that better. So her audition changed this character. It's kind of an interesting little bit of history behind the production. So the reason that Applebloom is able to escape at all and go after Sakura is because the others are having this weird conversation which involves Pinkie singing a song she wrote about how evil Sakura is.
She's an evil enchantress, she does evil dances, and if you look deep in her eyes, she'll put you in trances, so watch out!
Wow, catchy.
There's also some really good verbal jokes in addition to the song in this scene, where it kind of, in a comedic way, gets across how ridiculous prejudice is. And I'm not somebody who gets super into stories about prejudice unless they are really exploring the causes and the different views and why they feel this way. Things like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier. Fantastic movie for that exact reason. It doesn't just say these people are racist, herpy derp. It says why they feel this way, their cultural background, their private lives. The black people are as racist as the white people, like the maid who tries to tell him that he's rising above his station. So I find that sort of thing more interesting than just prejudice is bad, ooh, woo. But in this case, I think they handle it through comedy so well that it's good enough for kids, and for adults watching, it's funny enough that we can accept this plot because, adults honestly do need to learn this lesson about as much as kids in these days, don't they?
Well, I heard that Sakura eats hay.
Pinkie, I eat hay. You eat hay.
That's really funny, isn't it? They're for goodness sake, they're all horses. They all eat hay. So, that just kind of shows you, how ridiculous it is, right? So they go after Apple Bloom, they rescue her, and they walk in through this blue plant. And Zecora, clear as a bell, says, "Beware, you pony folk. Those leaves of blue are not a joke." And later on, it's like, because of their prejudice or whatever, they don't hear her, and so they think the allergic reaction they're having to this plant is a curse from Zecora, and that whatever she said was the curse. I think if they were going to do that, they should have muffled it more or something, like from a distance, "Those leaves of blue are not a joke," you something, just so that we could be a little bit confused as well. But instead, they really drive home that it's the plant. I mean, there's a shot where Rainbow Dash flies through the plant and the leaves are all rustling and her wings are flapping the flowers really hard just to drive home to you that it is absolutely the plant and not Zecora causing this. That would have been, I think, better if we actually had come along with them on the journey thinking that it was a curse from Zecora. It gave us a little bit more gray area instead of all black and white, like a zebra. But anyway, their reactions to this plant, it's called Poison Joke, as opposed to Poison Oak. And basically, it causes everybody to have allergic reactions to it, which are inherently funny. It's meant to be like a joke the plant is playing on you, right? And so Rarity, who's fashion-minded, suddenly she looks like Cousin It. Applejack is all about being big and strong, so she's made into a tiny little, Hasbro toy-sized Applejack. Rainbow Dash prides herself on her flying, so suddenly she can't fly at all. Pinkie Pie never stops talking, so her tongue swells to the point you can't understand a bloody word she's saying. And Fluttershy and Twilight are the two that we really need to focus on because they are the memes from this episode. Twilight's horn, because she values her magic, becomes floppy, and it is 80 kinds of inappropriate. I mean, how they got it by the censors, I don't know. But there's literally no joke I could make about it, nothing I could say about it, because everybody has already made every joke about that horn. Including in the episode, Spike calls her Twilight Flopple. So, I'm not going to try to make any jokes about the floppy horn, okay? Because I think we've erected enough monuments to that little meme. Then there's Fluttershy's meme, which is Flutter Guy. Her voice, which is, she's known for this timid, soft, shy voice. And suddenly, she has this voice of this big, burly man. And it is really funny.
I don't want to talk about it.
And so the jokes that they play off of all of these characters is really funny. I especially love this moment where Pinkie Pie sounds like she says, "Your face is horrible."
Oh, I look horrible. Your face looks horrible.
So they eventually break into Zecora's house, and it's as violent as it sounds. They destroy her home, and eventually they find Apple Bloom was fine. She was helping Zecora make a remedy so that they could all go back to normal. It's a special type of bubble bath which will cure them of their poison joke. This is only after, of course, they hear Zecora chanting a nursery rhyme in her native language, which they mistake as an evil curse or spell that she's putting on this potion, and that she's going to cook Apple Bloom into stew. It leads to possibly my favorite moment. It would be in my top 10 favorite moments of MLP ever, which is the Flutter Guy reprise of Pinkie Pie's song.
She's an evil enchantress, and she does evil dances. And if you look deep in her eyes, she will put you in trances.
Twilight actually is looking for a cure for the poison joke, and there's a book called Supernaturals, which she refuses to read because she's like, supernatural, that's ridiculous. No, no reasonable person believes in the supernatural. That's a great little setup for another episode later involving what is called Pinkie Sense. You'll understand when we get there, where Twilight is a very skeptically minded person and very scientifically minded. And I love that about Twilight, but what is so cool is that little setup comes back. So anyway, turns out the answer to the bubble bath that would cure them was in the Supernatural's book. And it's actually entitled Supernatural's Natural Remedies That Are Simply Super. She didn't read the subtitle because the title looked so weird, to which Zecora gives us our moral, which is actually really clever because you see where it's going, and yet when they state the moral, it actually has been so cleverly set up that it is kind of like that's kind of brilliant.
Actually, I do have this book, but I didn't look inside because the title was so weird.
Maybe next time you will take a second look and not judge the cover of the book.
That is a good lesson. All kids have to learn that. Don't judge a book by its cover. But rather than just saying that, they illustrate it fabulously through 2 different visuals within this episode. I gotta say, again, one of my favorites of season 1. It's just such a good episode. The comedy's good, the story's good, the conflict is good, and it sets up Zecora, who is, I think, the most underused character in MLP, possibly, but also she is one of my personal favorites. I love Zecora, and again, I met her voice actress at a con, and she was such a sweet, kind person that it just really... I don't know, it really endeared me to the character all the more knowing that she's the woman behind her and had so much influence on creating her into the character that we know. I also love that Zecora speaks in rhyme, which is a nice little way of giving her a sort of foreign ism without making her have to speak a whole different language, for instance. So yeah, that was Bridle Gossip. Again, just a great episode. I actually recommend this one as a first episode. Like, if you want to get into MLP, but you're not really sure where to start, and you don't want to watch the whole series in order, this is a good one to start with. So thank you, everybody, for watching, and I will see you in the next one.